Hi, my name is Cheryl, and I have multiple sclerosis, uh, short name MS, and it's an autoimmune disease. Um, a lot of people don't know about it, even though they've heard about it, and they may get it mixed up with multiple dystrophy and things like that. But this is a disease that usually hits people in the prime of their lives, anywhere from the age 20 to 50, although people can get it earlier or later in stages of their lives. Um, MS is a central nervous system disease where there's inflammation around the central nervous system from the brain down the spinal cord all the way to maybe the optic nerves. Um, the myelin sheath is attacked by um, your own cells that protect the body. And what it does is it thinks that there's a bacteria or a virus in your system. And so it tries to protect you, and your cells actually are destroying yourself. That's why it's called an autoimmune disease. Um, the myelin is a cord. Think of an ironing cord, and it goes around the nerves to protect the nerves. Well, what happens in MS is that um, your own antibodies thinks that the cord that protects your cells, that protects your nerves, will eat away at it and fray the cord. And when it does that, it takes away the signal to move. So if I say, Cheryl, move your hand and touch your head, and if the myelin is destroyed in my central nervous system for my hand and head coordination, I don't get the message to move my hand to my head. The way MS affect me mostly is my legs. So I can't walk. I was able to walk somewhat in the beginning. I've had MS for 38 years now, but now I'm in a wheelchair. The most people want to know the signs of MS. What are some of the symptoms? Some of the symptoms can be tingling of your hands and your legs, numbness, headaches. You could have symptoms of blurred vision, definitely imbalance, and that's when I started to fall. And with these symptoms, you of course go to a neurologist to try to find out what's wrong. They have tests to diagnose autoimmune diseases, and a lot of them are so close together in symptoms, sometimes it's hard to get a defined diagnosis right away. In my case, because it was 38 years ago, they didn't even have MRIs back then. So it took quite a while for them to figure it out. But today, they usually do it by an MRI or a spinal tap. And the prognosis is good. It's better than it was. There's no cure. And fortunately, research is working on it. It usually hits more women than men for some reason. And the thing to also know is that it affects us with fatigue. We get extremely tired. One of the things that we hear most of often when you have autoimmune disease, especially if you're not in a wheelchair like myself, and you're able to walk, is it's an invisible disease. And they go, "Oh, you look so good." Well, yeah, we might look good, but we're tired. And the fatigue is one, like, rest does not solve it. You can sleep forever and still wake up fatigued from MS. And stress will bring on a relapse of MS. So it's a very precarious disease. It's one that needs to have much more attention paid to, and it needs to be supported extremely well by family and friends because the last thing we don't want is not to be invited to things because we may say no a lot, and the reason why is because we're tired. Um, it affects our bladder, and in some cases, bowel. It has its gamuts, right? You know, to, like I said, to affect everyday life. So do some reading. Read more about MS. Google it. It's a disease that a lot of people have that are walking around, and you don't know that they have it, and yet they may be ashamed to tell you because they themselves are afraid that it's going to get worse. And a lot of times it does. Um, but there are so many people who are supportive. And the more people know about multiple sclerosis, the more funding that is given, the more people will be able to um, accept and help, and especially with employment. So again, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid that you're going to get it. We don't know who gets it or how it's gotten. It's not contagious. It's not hereditary. Um, and it's just one of those things. So with that, I say farewell and have a good evening and read. Thank you very much for your time. Good night.